Hi guys, I hope you're well. Welcome to my channel, and today I am going to talk about the book of Ruth. My friends and I had a Bible study concerning it, and it was so fulfilling, so eye-opening, and I thought this is a good chapter or rather book to share with you guys. So welcome to this session. It's gonna be an interesting Bible study. I enjoyed it. I hope you do. Ruth is an incredible book of the Bible. So we start with chapter 1. In chapter 1, we are told about this man Elimelech. Elimelech comes from the city of Judah, Bethlehem, and from the tribe of Ephrathah, so the Ephrathites. And Elimelech is married to Naomi. So they have two sons, Malon and Kilion. But it reaches a time and there is no food in their place, so they decide to go to another place, or rather another region, which is Moab. So there the sons find wives and they marry Orpah and Ruth. So after a while, Elimelech dies, and 10 years later the sons also die. So and Naomi is very grieved. So she decides to go back, but the reason she decides to go back is she hears that back in their homeland there is food. God has blessed the land and now they have food. Remember, they migrated from there because of lack of food or famine. So she tells her daughters-in-law, now that there's nothing to go back to, I thank you for your kindness to my sons and the kindness that you've shown me. But now I want you to go and marry, because there's nothing that you're going back to. And the two daughters, they wept, all of them wept, because this is their family, and they did not want to leave Naomi to go back alone. But Naomi insists and tells them, please, just go, stay here and live your lives, because first of all, I am old, I cannot marry, and even if I were to marry, will you wait for my sons to grow up so that you marry, and within that time will you restrain yourself from getting married? It really did not make sense. So they cried and cried, and Naomi acknowledges her grief. She says that God has really punished me for she grieved for their sake. So they wept. After weeping, Orpah decides to stay, but Ruth desperately clings to Naomi. And she tells Naomi, where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. And where you die, there is where I will be buried. In fact, she even goes ahead and tells Naomi that if I let anything separate us, may God punish me. And that is Ruth. So Naomi, after all this pleading with them, telling them to stay back, Ruth is relentless. And once Naomi sees that, she gives up. Now she doesn't even talk to her, because she sees, hey, this girl, she's not budging. So they keep on going back to their land, and she doesn't even say a word, because I'm sure her spirit is exhausted. And I'm sure she doesn't understand why this girl wants to go with her to nothing. She's going back to nothing. So they arrive in Bethlehem in Judah, and the people are excited to see them. But Naomi tells them, stop. Do not call me Naomi. Call me Mara. Mara meaning pain, or because the Lord has brought a great suffering unto my life. I have been afflicted, I have suffered. So do not call me Naomi. I went back full, but now I come back empty. I've lost a husband, I've lost two sons. One of my daughters-in-law stayed back. I come back with nothing. So do not call me Naomi, call me Mara. And you can just see how Naomi is still grieving. The pain of her loss is just seen. But I like the fact that um, Naomi, before leaving her daughters-in-law, she acknowledges how kind they were to their husbands. She tells them, you stay here so that now you might find security and protection. So that tells us husbands are a source of our security and protection. And as women, it's virtuous, it's a noble thing to be kind to your husband and to his family. It goes a long way. And after all that happens, when she loses her family, she asks them to stay. I find Naomi to be very realistic, because what are they going back to? Normally, I see in our societies, there's this thing where if a young lady loses a husband, the family tries so hard to keep her in the family, especially when she has a son, because they want that generation to continue. And maybe that could have happened to both Oprah and Ruth, but remember they had no children, and that is why Naomi felt that it was necessary for them to continue living their lives. But I have a question. What do you think about those ladies who are made to stay in that home because now they have a son, and this family knows that this generation will continue? This son is the one who will keep this generation alive. And I love Ruth so much because she tells Naomi, your people will be my people, your God will be my God. She must have believed in Naomi's God, in her people, a foreign land she didn't know about. But she said, whether God you're going to worship, whoever your people are, those will be mine too. How incredible, such amount of faith that Ruth had. So that is it for chapter 1. So now we're going to chapter 2. We've seen that Naomi and Ruth have gone back to Bethlehem, and she has told the people, do not call me Naomi because I have undergone so much pain and suffering. Call me Mara. So now in chapter 2, we are introduced to a very wealthy and influential man. His name is Boaz. And Ruth tells Naomi, let me go out and see if I can find anyone who with whom I can find favor so that I can work in their field. So Ruth goes, and luckily she finds somewhere where she's working. Boaz comes back to Bethlehem, and she finds his workers in the field, and he greets them. The Lord be with you. And they're like, oh, the Lord bless you. And I'm so impressed by this act. It's not every time that, oh, sasa poa. Boaz tells them, the Lord be with you. It just goes to show you what kind of a man Boaz is or was. He was a man who feared the Lord, who believed in God. And at any moment, at any chance he got, he made sure to proclaim the word or the name of the Lord. So he asks his foreman, who's this girl who's working at my field? Oh, the foreman says, oh, that's Ruth. Ruth, she came here in the morning, she was looking for work, and I gave it to her. And doesn't stop there. He goes ahead to tell him, and by the way, she has been working very hard since morning. She has not rested except for a few minutes. And Boaz is so impressed. You can tell that he's impressed. And he tells her, hey, my daughter, do not go to any other field to work there. Stay here in my field. Work with my women, and whatever you want, I will provide for you. If you're thirsty, go and drink the water that the men have drawn from the well, and I will make sure that they will not harass you. I pray that God gives us such employees, employees who acknowledge our value. Boaz acknowledged Ruth's value. I mean, which boss doesn't want a hardworking person? Because he knew Ruth will bring value to his field. And because of that, he said, I will take care of you. I pray that we have employees who will cater for our needs, who will take care of us. And later that day, we see when they're at table at mealtime, Boaz tells Ruth, come here and take some bread and wine. I can imagine he was probably sitting at the front table surrounded by his workers. So imagine Boaz, a wealthy and influential man, tells Ruth, come, my daughter, take bread. They pass around roasted grain. Such a good boss. You see how he interacts with his employees and shares his meals together with them. I pray that we have employees like Boaz, employers who interact with us, who share their good things, meals with us, their profits. So, uh, so they pass bread, the grain, they eat, and Ruth eats to fill. She's so satisfied, and there's even some left. So they go back, she goes back to sleep, and the next morning she wakes up and she's ready for work. So we see Ruth is ready to do work, and Boaz instructs a young man. He tells them, you let her gather grain, and do not reproach her or do not disturb her. Also, he gives this particular instruction: leave grain purposefully so that Ruth will come and gather it. I mean, what a boss! Bosses who intentionally make you succeed. They position you for greatness, for profit, for all the good things. Do not harass her. Please, just take care of her. And you see, by the end of the evening, Ruth has done a lot of work. She has a lot of grain and she goes back with it. Together with the leftover meal, she goes with it back to Naomi. And Naomi is impressed. Oh, how has it been? Where have you been? And Ruth tells her, by the way, I've been working in this particular field. And it was of a man called Boaz. Oh, and Naomi is so impressed. She tells her, do not go from that field. Stay there. He will take care of you. Don't go to other fields where you will be harassed. And he tells her, whether you know Boaz is your relative, so stay there. And Ruth is at peace. She says, for sure, I will surely do that. And she stays there until they had arrived at late spring. That's when the barley harvest was happening. So she stayed the entire time up to summer when they were harvesting wheat. She stayed with Boaz, working at his field. I am so impressed. Boaz is a good example of what an employer or a boss should be, taking care of his employees' needs. And Ruth, on the other hand, a good example of who a good employee is, very hardworking. And hey, don't forget about Naomi, people who validate our actions. She tells Ruth, you stay there, you're in the right place. And again, remember the foreman. Hey, I mean, may God help us that we find people who will talk good about us even when we are not there. People who will sell our values to others. You see, the foreman could have simply said, oh, she's Ruth. And again, but there's something I forgot to mention. So you remember Boaz has told her, by the way, do not go anywhere. I will make sure that you work with my women and you'll have everything that you need. And Ruth is humbled. She goes to the ground, bows down to him and tells him, my Lord, I'm so thankful. Thank you for the favor and kindness that you've shown to me. Me, who is a foreigner, a Moabite. Boaz tells him, no, don't worry. I have heard your story. I've even heard what you've done to Naomi. You see, good deeds spread themselves. Kizuri chajiuza. And Boaz goes ahead and says, because of that, I pray that may the Lord, this God of Israel, under whose wings you've come to seek refuge here in Bethlehem, may he bless you. May he reward you. And not just that, may he reward you fully. Oh, I want people who talk and uh, proclaim blessings unto my life. And Boaz did that. And Ruth is so humbled. She said, oh my God, my Lord Boaz, may I continue to find favor in your eyes because you have comforted me through your kind words. You have blessed me. Thank you so much. May I continue to find favor in your eyes. That's the kind of person Boaz was. Yani ana proclaim blessings. Imagine an employee anakwambia, hey, may you be blessed, may you thrive. Hey, Boaz. Let's go to chapter 3. So now in chapter 3, we see that Ruth has worked in Boaz's field for a while. So Naomi calls her, my daughter, come. And she tells her, by the way, you see now you've been working in Boaz's field, and you know Boaz is our relative, You know. Now what I want you to do is, I want you to find a permanent protector and provider for you. You remember, Naomi believes that husbands are a source of security, are a source of protection, and she really wants Ruth to have a permanent home so that she can benefit, have full protection, security. So she tells her, my daughter, do this. This is what you will do. Go and take a bath, dress well, put on your best perfume, and then go to Boaz. Once you reach there, do not show yourself to him on a normal times. Wait until he has drunk, he has eaten, and is in good spirits. I like the fact that even the Bible acknowledges that when you eat good food, it puts you in good spirits. The Bible says Boaz was in good spirits. He was cheerful. And so, of course, Ruth does that. She dresses herself up and she goes. And when Boaz was in good spirits, was in a cheerful mood, he goes to sleep. And that's when Ruth makes her move. As she was told, so she goes and covers his part of his cloak, or rather covering, and then she stays there at his feet. So remember, Boaz has already eaten, now he's sleeping. In the middle of the night, he's like, hey, who's this? Who is this? Who is this? So Ruth says, oh, I am Ruth. Please spread the covering of your bedding. Spread it over me because you are my family redeemer. Basically, Ruth is giving up herself to this man. And let me tell you, I think in that society, once your husband dies, there was someone who would inherit the property together with the wife. So here Ruth, she wants to be inherited. She's basically telling Boaz, take me as your wife. It's more like seducing Boaz. Yani amejipendekeza kwa Boaz, amejipa kwake. So Boaz tells her, hey, my dear Ruth, you have shown kindness to me more than even back in the beginning. And this is the reason why. You see, Ruth, you've not gone for younger men, be it rich or poor. No, you've not done that. But you said, let me go to my family redeemer. You followed tradition. And for that, I respect you, Ruth. Do not worry. I will do everything for you because you're so good. You're so kind. And even the town knows you're a virtuous woman. But Boaz tells her, but you know what? There's someone who's ahead of me. Someone who's closer for to take up this role than me. So I'll go in the morning, I'll talk to him, and once he agrees to marry you, that would be good. But if he doesn't, Boaz swears that I will for sure marry you. So in the morning, Boaz makes sure that Ruth goes without anyone seeing her. Because I mean, remember, Ruth is known to be a virtuous woman. So imagine if the whole town knew that she was with Boaz, who's not even a family redeemer, who's not supposed to marry her, how? With her boss. So Boaz protects her dignity. And before she leaves, Kambia, bring your shawl, puts for her a lot of ballet, and she takes back to her mother-in-law. Boaz knows that when you go to places, do not go empty-handed. And I was reminded of that fact. It is good to give. When you go somewhere, carry something. You've been invited for lunch, carry a banana. It's always a good show. It's always nice. When you go for a safari and you're back, carry a gift. It's a good gesture. So Ruth goes back and tells Naomi what happened. Naomi says, Boaz told you that. Do not worry. If it is Boaz, be rest assured he will not sleep until this matter goes to rest. Do not worry. Let us wait for him. Hey, Boaz. And I am impressed with Boaz. Such a man of integrity. You see, Boaz respected Ruth even after Ruth giving herself to him. He restrained himself and told her, no, I am not the right person for this. Imagine, such a beautiful, and I believe Ruth must have been very beautiful. So imagine how many men would have taken opportunity, would have grabbed that opportunity. So many. But Boaz is a man of dignity and respect. Another thing that my friends and I caught was that Ruth, before going to Boaz, she dressed well. She put on her best clothes. So the first thing is, sometimes opportunities will not find you. You have to go and seek those opportunities. You have to go and find them yourself. Ruth came from her home and went to that man. Maybe if she would have stayed there, nothing would have ever happened. She made sure to put her best front. So even you, when you're seeking opportunities, put on your best front. If it's your CV, make it the best. If you're going to interact with people, put on your best clothes. Not to say that you pretend, but present yourself for an opportunity. That is positioning yourself for an opportunity. Be such that you're just irresistible. I believe at this point Ruth was irresistible, but Boaz restrained himself. No. I know you've come, thank you for this, but no, this is not my place. And again, it's so good to have mentors in our lives. People who remind us that it is time to take action. Naomi reminds Ruth that this is the time for you to take action. Go and find Boaz. Naomi was definitely Ruth's mentor. We all need mentors in our lives. People who will remind us of our goodness, of our failures. Go, it is time to take action. Run. So let's wait and see chapter 4. What happened? Did Boaz find an answer? So now we are in chapter 4. Boaz has promised Ruth, let me go and find this family redeemer and then I'll bring back the news to you. So Boaz goes to the town and finds the family redeemer. Ambia, come, I need to talk to you about something. So Boaz calls 10 leaders who will be witnesses. Before he does any talks with him, he calls the 10 leaders. So he tells this family redeemer, by the way, you know Malian, Kilion, and Elimelech died? Yes. And you're the family redeemer? Yes. So if you want to take up the property, you can do it because you're the next one. But I need you to tell it to me right away because, you know, If you don't take it, then I'm next in line after you. This family redeemer says, yes, 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 I want this land, I want this property. Boaz says, wait, 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 my friend, wait. If you take this property, remember it comes with a wife. It comes with Ruth. Immediately the family redeemer says, I am not interested anymore. I cannot take that offer. Because if I take it, it will endanger my own estate. So he removes the sandal, as was his tradition, and gives it to Boaz just to signify that he has rightfully passed the role of family redeemer to him. And Boaz is willingly and he happily, I'm sure, takes up the role. And he tells the leaders, you have seen, I have taken this land and all the property that belonged to this family. And now I'll be taking Ruth as my wife so that she can come have a son and continue with this generation. And this son will also inherit that property. So that is what happened. Boaz marries Ruth and God blesses them. They sleep together and have a son. And the women are so happy. First of all, when the leaders witnessed, they blessed Boaz. They told him, may this woman, may she be like Rachel and Leah. May she bring to you a son who will be famous, who will, let me just read it. They say, may the Lord make this woman is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, from whom all the nation of Israel descended. May you prosper in Ephrathah and be famous in Bethlehem. Because of who? Ruth. And may the Lord give you descendants by this woman, who will be like those of our ancestor Perez, the son of Tamar and Judah. So sometimes marrying the right woman brings blessings, brings great prosperity in your generation. Marry the right woman, you will be blessed. Boaz was blessed because of Ruth. He was already a wealthy and influential man. But you see that because of Ruth, he's even blessed more. So they have a son called Obed. And Naomi is also, on the other hand, very happy. The women are also happy on her behalf. Finally, the God has redeemed their family. And now they have a son who will take over. A son who Naomi now takes care of as if he were our own. And Naomi says, let me read to you, this is very interesting. She says, the women tell her, praise the Lord, who has now provided a redeemer for your family. May this child be famous in Israel. May he restore your youth and care for you in your old age. Children are a source of security in your old age. Children are supposed to restore your youth. Yani, I take this as a symbol that her spirit was revived. Her energy was back up because of Obed. It's like she became like a young lady, full of energy. Imagine that kind of happiness. Wow, Naomi must have really prayed to God for this to happen. And they go ahead to say, for he is the son of your daughter-in-law who loves you and has been better to you than 7 sons. Just shows you how good Ruth was. So imagine how people nowadays are to their mothers. They want to take care of their mothers, give them nice things, be kind to them. So imagine 7 sons. But Ruth was even better to Naomi than 7 sons. Ruth was a good woman. If your name is Ruth, please be like Ruth. Ruth was surely a good woman. Yeah? And I really love Boaz. Boaz keeps his word. Remember I told Ruth, if the family redeemer doesn't marry you, I will. And he does that. This is a wealthy and influential man who's down to earth, very humble. And because of him, they get Obed and their generation goes on. And it is from here that the Obed becomes the father of Jesse, and Jesse was, you are right, the father of David. And who was David? David the king. David who killed Israelites' enemies. David who defeated Goliath. David the redeemer of Israel. David the man after God's own heart, who descended from this generation, from Obed, and I mean from Ruth and Boaz. I really loved this story. A good symbol, and we learn a lot of lessons of how men should be. Men should respect women, protect their dignity, protect them, be a source of security. Employers should take care of their employees' needs, keep their word. Talk about children being a source of security to take care of you during old age. Remember, Boaz acknowledges the kindness of Ruth. Even the woman, again, first of all, it starts with Naomi. Back then, wakiwa Moab, tells her, by the way, you guys, you have been so kind to me and to my husband and to our son. And then when Boaz meets Ruth, hey, she says, I've heard of your kindness to your mother-in-law. May God bless you. And now here the women are also acknowledging this kindness. By the way, this woman has been kind to you more than 7 sons. May she be blessed. May this son that she is going to bear, wow, may we be like Ruth. Women, very hardworking women who seek opportunity, women who work hard to provide for our families, women who stick to purpose, women who are visionary. Ruth was able to see that, I am not leaving Naomi. That is where her star was. I am going with Naomi. That God must be a good God. I am going with you, Naomi. May we be visionary women who are able to identify light. Maybe maybe just be like Naomi. Maybe be like Boaz. Maybe be like the foreman. And by the way, I remember about Oprah. I know she's not mentioned a lot. I mean, Oprah, she believed that, let me just stay, because for sure there's nothing for me in Bethlehem. But Ruth, imagine that kind of faith. She knows there's nothing for me there, but I am going either way. Wow. I just love Ruth. Thank you so much for tuning in or for being part of this Bible study. I was so blessed. I hope you too are blessed. I hope Boaz is a standard for you, becomes a standard, your reference. A man who acknowledges God, loves God, keeps his word. I am so amazed. Thank you. Have a lovely week.